Welcome to the program.
Are we on? Because I'm
We are
used to
on.
my roll-in music.
What is the roll?
Greg's got to give you all the cues.
I didn't have the roll-in music.
Oh.
What does he play the Beatles for you?
Yeah.
Is that what it is,
No.
Bill?
It's your house, it's our house.
It's
a
not a
very,
Beatles
very,
song,
very
is
fine
it?
house. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it? I'm not a Beatle fan.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, no, because your area of expertise is not music; it's real estate.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
But Bill's area of expertise is everything.
Well, he's a lawyer.
Because
He's an
he's
expert
quite
at everything.
he is quite brilliant.
Right.
So
I'm a Renaissance man.
yeah, that's what my stepfather calls him, and apparently Bill likes that.
I'm familiar with the lawyer personality. They know everything.
Oh, that's right. Your
Yeah.
father's one, isn't it?
Well, at least we can talk on any subject for any length of time, whether we know anything about it or not. But I will tell you, I'm getting over the worst flu I've had in
You sounded like you had a little
decades.
cold.
It was 10 days.
10 days.
10 days from start
Yeah.
until, and really
So I'm
still
getting
hang-
over the
still-
worst
still
flu
hanging.
I've ever had, and I wasn't even sick. If you get that one.
I understand how that works. Yeah.
So anyway, I feel sorry for anybody that gets this stuff.
All right. Well, I'm glad you're on the mend.
Yeah, I'm not
You're
contagious
beyond the
any
contagious
longer.
point?
Yeah,
All right.
wait.
He won't
Awesome.
kiss you.
Yeah.
Boy, that left you
That was a
speechless. I don't know that I've ever heard you
uncomfortable silence there.
speechless.
That was a moment of serenity, we'll call that one.
Yeah, right.
Hey, so today is Bill's anniversary. Bill's
Happy
anniversary.
Anniversary to what?
41 years of
Not being sick?
licensed as a
Oh.
lawyer.
Congratulations.
41.
41 long years or quick years?
It's quick. It's gone in a heartbeat. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, it's gone very fast.
Awesome. All right. Happy
So,
anniversary.
I was
does Hallmark have a
14.
card for that?
No, I don't think so.
We could make one. I was 14 when he got his law degree.
I'm looking to Bill to say something.
Didn't know her then.
That's a good thing.
Right.
Yeah,
Well, he could
I
have
always
known
say,
me, but
yeah.
you know.
Right. I could have followed the Jerry Lee Lewis method of marriage, I guess, and found myself a 14-year-old girl.
I didn't realize you guys are cousins.
We didn't meet until after the nuptials.
You know, in Jackson,
Now we
that could
try-
be
now
the
we-
case because there's so many
Don't
big
even
families.
go there. Okay.
Well, there's just so
We
many
check
big
the DNA
families.
and there's no relation.
All right, let's talk about real estate. Let's turn this ship in the right direction. Let's talk about real estate. What do you got on the docket today?
Oh gosh.
Unless you want to talk about historic buildings, but I can't imagine why.
Well, there's going to be a few lessons, Jackson, from what I understand.
Yeah. I hope one
Not
of you-
necessarily. No, I think John Butterfield made it clear that they haven't decided that they're going to demolish it. It just depends upon how the economics work out, and you have to appreciate that. You know, it's a balance between trying to preserve property versus is something economically viable or is it functionally obsolete? And you know, it's not one way or the other. It's really there are two sides to that.
Right. No, I
same
understand
coin.
the two sides scenario, but if we have a building that has been vacant for how long now? And there's not anybody who so far has been willing to come forward and take up the cause of fixing up a historical site or historical home. If it's just going to sit there and be vacant and rot, then get rid of it. If it's truly a historical spot, a historical home, then someone who is passionate about that should have come forward by now to take care of it.
But
Can you tell me how you really feel about this?
I'm not saying, I'm just saying.
Actually,
Well,
well, hold on.
Okay,
Oh, no,
go.
you go ahead. No, I'll defer to you for the first time ever.
you know,
He's slowing down his 41 years of practicing
He's
law.
pretending
That's-
to defer
that's
to
right.
me.
Yeah, no, go ahead. What's your comment on that?
If anything will sit
Mhm.
if it's overpriced too long.
Okay. Were they overpriced? I mean,
They
were
are
they owned by
overpriced.
the bank, and how much is the bank willing to let them go for?
You mean the smaller homes?
Yeah, the ones, the historical. Let's take this back to what the city had addressed at the last meeting.
Well, the
previous
ones the
meeting.
city's tearing down there are
Yeah.
4.
Right.
I know one is privately owned. I don't
Okay.
know who owns the other 3.
Okay. How much are those listed for then?
Well, I can tell you the one was listed in the 50s or 60,000s,
Okay.
and it's just in horrendous shape. So,
Mhm.
would it have sold if it were listed correctly? Probably. Anything will sell at the right price.
Okay.
And some of them, some of them are. There's no. If you look at the property,
Mhm.
there is no historical value for how it was built. I mean, it's just built. I could have a house sitting in a historic district, and it's just a 2-story typical house. I don't even traditional house. There's
Okay.
no Tudor style. There's no history on who lived there. It's all just painted wood on the inside. No detailed woodwork, things like that.
But there's still a desire to preserve this home because of where it was built?
There are people who want to preserve them simply because of the historic district that they sit in. That's true.
Well, historic districts are generally shaped around buildings that have some sort of historical significance. Not
Right.
necessarily in terms of what happened there or the spot on which they were built, but the architecture, the design, whatever it may be. And it's a balance between a private property owner wanting to do with his or her property what he or she wants to do versus the preservation of something which is for the public good. And you have to understand that sometimes the municipality goes too far, and it's what's known as inverse condemnation. They, by regulation, have taken away the private property owner's right to make a profit or to have some economically viable use of the property. And so there's that balance. And if the municipality goes too far and they regulate out that economically viable use, then the private property owner has an action against the municipality for inverse condemnation. They've taken away the property without paying for it. We have a whole system for condemnation if in fact the municipality wants to acquire property for a public purpose. Then there's a statute that provides for the mechanism to condemn the property, determine its value, pay the private property owner for the value of that property. But what can't happen, and again, as I say, as a lawyer, I represent almost exclusively owners and managers and people who are fighting municipalities. I don't represent any municipalities, but I understand the other side of that argument. And so the private property owner doesn't have carte blanche to do whatever he or she wants to do it. They have to do it within the confines of what reasonable legislation happens to be.
What if the property owner and the city, or whatever the public entity, whatever, disagree on the actual value of the property? We're just talking about how these homes didn't sell because they're priced too high.
Well, the open market.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
the
a
one
diff-
on Michigan Avenue.
But
is for sale.
if these properties are condemned, the city takes control, tears them down, and they have to reimburse the property owner then. If they differ on price, how do you figure that out?
Well, no, it all depends. I mean, if in fact the owner has allowed the property to deteriorate to such an extent that it no longer conforms with the applicable building and safety codes, health building and safety codes, that's the owner's problem. Now, the municipality doesn't have to pay an owner to take over a property which the owner has caused to deteriorate to such a point that it is no longer economically viable because of that owner's failure to conform.
Gotcha.
And that's what these demolitions are all about, is that for years, and again, I'm not familiar with what's happened in the municipality of Jackson over the last 2 decades. I just don't know. But obviously, a number of properties have fallen into such a state of disrepair that the cost to renovate those properties exceeds what the fair market value of the property would be once it was repaired or renovated. So now the municipality has a decision to make, and that is, does it condemn the property under a separate statute that allows for condemnation without compensation? You actually condemn it, and then the owner has to pay the cost.
Well,
of
these
it.
properties were already condemned.
Yeah, right.
All 4 of these.
Yeah, but there was a
No.
process of condemnation. In other
Right,
words,
it didn't happen overnight.
Gotcha.
The city municipality had to go through the condemnation process. And again, we're talking about 2 different kinds of condemnation. One is the condemnation because the building now constitutes a public health, safety, or public health or safety hazard.
Okay.
Versus condemnation where the municipality wants it to create a public park or to build a road
Gotcha.
or something like that.
And these 4 houses are the
it's
first one, not the second one, right?
Well, you're talking about 2 different circumstances. One is where the municipality is actually condemned. Didn't you? It's
They've
in 100
condemned them because they've fallen in disrepair.
Right,
And
not
the-
because they
and
want
the owners
another
are
park.
not maintaining them.
Which is different from the building on Michigan
750.
Avenue, 750
Right.
West Michigan,
That's
which
a whole
was the
different
owner's
issue.
desire to develop the property for an economically viable use. And then those are different issues there.
Right.
And as I mentioned, the trustee, John Butterfield, who's a friend of mine and a very, very good guy and a very conscientious guy, I mean, he's trying to do things in the best interests of the trust that he represents, and you can't fault him for doing that. the question becomes, has that property, even though it's been vacant all these years, has it been properly priced so that someone would be willing to come in? And obviously, 8 years later, it's a lot more difficult. You've got 8 years of deterioration
Right.
of that property. Who knows? I mean, you could debate that all day long as to whether or not back 8 years ago when it was first put on the market, should it have been priced at something less? Now, should it be priced at something less? And you asked how you resolve that particular issue. Those are appraisers. You bring in appraisers who are experienced and who apply the appraisal standards from the Appraisal Institute to determine what the
Right.
value is.
But you can bring in 3 different appraisers and come up with 3 different price tags.
You're gonna come
it's
in
not
close.
It's not quite that bad. The appraisal standards are such that I think you could get a pretty good handle on what a fair market value for that property is.
Okay.
I don't think that's that tough.
Okay.
But right now, I think, I'm sure that the trustee would take, if an offer came in that meant that the trust would benefit more than if the property were destroyed, because obviously the trust is going to have to pay the cost of demolition, so they have to figure that into what the expenses are, versus if the property remains, somebody comes in and makes an offer. It's a difficult position for the trustee to be in. He at least has the options now.
Thinking real estate here on News Talk 970 WKHL. Laura?
The one that's being demoed on First Street in I don't know the address. I'm gonna say it's gotta be a 100 or a 200. That one I showed, that was a 4-unit that's been on the market, and that was like dirt cheap, and still no one came in and bought
How
that.
much was it?
I'm asking Jackie to see if she can find it on her phone. It would have been, I'm sure it's not on the market now, but I showed that 2 or 3 times, and
Well, part of the problem is that there isn't the population in Jackson to support the number of housing units in Jackson.
well,
We
we're being told.
might beg to differ with you
Yeah,
on that.
we're being told there's a 500 to 600 market rate apartment rental shortage in downtown Jackson.
And what I started
5
to
to
say,
600 units.
Well, I mean, the last census report came out had showed that the number of people who had left the county and had left the city. So, I mean, are we saying that we just
Well, and left the
those
state.
populations
Do you
are-
know that
yeah.
every
Well-
state in the United States has gained a population from Michigan? We haven't gained that back.
but you have to also understand that the quality of housing, and this is what I started to say before.
Right.
Again, I'm not that intimately familiar with enforcement of the code over the last 2 or 3 decades, but I am led to believe that enforcement within the municipality of Jackson has been rather lax, so that properties were allowed to deteriorate that had there been a strong building code enforcement program in place, that wouldn't have happened. So
Gotcha.
again, it sort of begs the question, if you had a loss of population, did you lose a population because of the overall economy and Jackson didn't have the jobs, or did you lose population because you didn't have the quality housing that attracted people to the community? And obviously it's probably a combination of both. So if you can now, in an improving economy in Michigan and in Jackson, also increase your stock of quality housing, you actually might see a population increase. Look, we're landlords. We do a lot of residential rentals, and
Well, not a lot, but we do.
a number.
A fair
And
share.
so we're seeing an increase in interest in our residential units. More people coming
Okay.
in. We understand that the demand for residential housing, for again, quality residential housing, actually exists in Jackson.
Right.
So, and
Okay.
we're betting. I mean, we're putting our own money into that.
You got a lot of empty
particular
units, or are
prospect.
you all full?
No,
The only
we're
ones we have empty are ones we're renovating.
and,
Okay.
Everything we have finished is full.
and we're actually in process of design. Can I mention this?
Sure.
And in the process of doing an additional residential apartment complex to be able to service the demand that we personally believe exists. So we're putting our money where our mouths are.
Okay, very good. Do you have any properties that you want to highlight here today?
Is it that time already?
It's 10 till.
Wow.
I know it goes by fast.
Well,
And I don't really know exactly how the show runs because I'm usually behind you guys working on
I know.
stuff.
I'm surprised you
You know.
didn't even read that clock now that you're on this side of the wall.
I was looking at this one, but you know.
Oh, okay, got it. We just have a price reduction at 414 South Street in Grass Lake. Cute house, it's down to 111,000. Let me say it right. 3 bedrooms, 1.5 baths, 1232 square feet. Cute house. Do you want to know what
Okay.
the average price is going
Sure.
around?
Yeah.
Let's
Please.
see. This is through October, and our average sale price overall, including foreclosures and short sales, is $103,669. But traditional homes, ones that aren't distressed, is $130,900.
Okay.
That's good. Last year at the same time, it was, I don't know, maybe well, the overall market last year was 87.9 compared to 103.7. So that's a huge increase. Foreclosures, average price is 55.9. We're down to 35.8% foreclosures. Of the market that sold, 35.8% are foreclosures.
Okay.
In 2009 was our worst year, 85.1% of our market.
Wow.
So, talk about improvement in the economy.
Now, wait, is that just because there's not as many, since so many of them got bought up at one point?
It's
There's
because
just
the
not as
economy,
many?
people aren't
or
being
people-
people aren't being foreclosed on, they're paying their
Okay.
bills.
Yeah, because there was a bubble, you know, it's like
Yeah.
the snake that swallowed a football. The football has worked its way through, but you still have a number of distressed properties, but nowhere near that large
Okay.
lump that we had up until, I'd say, what do you think, Jackie, a year and a half ago? We're still doing some they're still doing some short sales.
Gotcha.
I haven't done a short sale in a long time, and workouts, I've only got a couple of workouts going on some commercial deals, but most of those have worked their way through the system already.
They've worked
too.
out.
They
worked their way out
They worked their
of
way
the
through the
system.
system. They weren't necessarily a good workout
They
for the
took-
owner, but and the other thing that we're seeing is banks understanding that the market now has improved tremendously from what it was a year and a half ago.
Uh-huh.
It's difficult to do short sales at the prices that we were doing them, or to do workouts on the terms that we were doing them before, because the banks understand that there's now greater value to those properties, so they're less willing to take a hit in terms of reduction of the mortgage. But at least a lot of it's worked through the system.
Okay.
So the city, I have it broken down
Mhm.
by township on value. City of Jackson, our average sale price right now is $42,100 compared to last year at $36,700. So that's an increase. The largest average sale price right now, township is, drum roll please,
Don't have-
Columbia.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
164.1 compared to last year it was 150,800.
I guess that's not surprising. You have a lot of lake property out there.
Yeah,
too.
you have a lot. You have Lake Columbia, which is typically a high-end lake
Mhm.
for the most part. School districts, you wanna know who's grabbing the most?
I do.
Columbia,
Okay.
150,500 compared to last year at 143.8. So, can we put these on our website, Jackie, in case someone wants to look?
Sure.
Sure, Jackie said
That's,
sure.
You know, that's a loaded question, because what are you going to do if you get a no on that?
Well, then I could
Well,
say
no,
just
I
call
guess-
me and I'll email it to you.
Jackie wouldn't hesitate to say no if she wasn't going to do it.
She was probably
She's
thinking
not
of the
shy.
workload on her desk, but thinkingrealestate.com, or you can call me at 780-3800.
All right, very good. And again, thinkingrealestate.com.
You got it.
Awesome. Thanks, guys, for coming in. Appreciate it.
Ciao.
News Talk 970.